What if Latino Heat never passed away and is alive? Well, in this timeline, we're gonna talk about Eddie Guerrero, and we're gonna talk about a timeline where he actually never passed away. In this timeline also, well, there's a lot of changes in the storyline purposes and in WWE as a whole. And also, this time, in 2005 or 2004, let's just say about that, WWE actually took care of their drug policy programs, and they actually made it so strict so that wrestlers won't have any precautions on their health, and if they work out, then they have their healthy ways and they don't depend on drugs. Well, this is a timeline where WWE actually took care of it, and wrestlers are as doing as they follows. So in that episode of SmackDown, Eddie Guerrero wins the triple threat match between Orton, Batista, and him to be the World Heavyweight Champion. And Randy Orton will have a feud with him, a 1-month feud. Why it is a 1-month feud? Well, The Undertaker will return no matter what. And also during this rivalry, there's gonna be a number 1 contenders match in a battle royal. While Kurt Angle will actually be drafted on SmackDown by this point, much earlier than in real life. So they have a challenger for Eddie Guerrero. And yes, Kurt Angle wins that battle royal, and then Latino Heat defeats Randy Orton in a spectacular fashion. So Kurt Angle will challenge Eddie Guerrero in the Royal Rumble. He will try to cheat, but it actually backfired to him, just like what they did at WrestleMania 20, but in a new way and a awesome way. You know how they entertain the fans, they can do it here. And in No Way Out, well, Eddie Guerrero will defeat Kurt Angle clean. No cheating tactics, no anything. So after that feud, Shawn Michaels will actually feud with Eddie Guerrero, and in this time it is for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 22. The build-up will be Shawn Michaels wanting the World Heavyweight Championship yet again, and yes, he will put over Eddie Guerrero in WrestleMania. He will attempt a super kick in this match, a switch in music. He actually kicked the referee. Eddie Guerrero will get the title, hits Michaels with it, retains the title. You know how Eddie Guerrero does his matches. And then in the next SmackDown, well, there's gonna be another rematch for last year's WrestleMania, and that is Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. I know Rey Mysterio's rise to the top here, and this timeline, you will think that it is actually impossible for him to have the same push because of Eddie Guerrero, because of the situation of Eddie Guerrero in real life, that they pushed Rey Mysterio because of the sympathy of the fans. But in this timeline, Eddie Guerrero actually convinces Vince McMahon that they need to put the title on Rey Mysterio, and he's gonna take his time off to heal from his injuries. You know that he could actually have his time off and actually relax for a time. That's actually the injuries are having a toll to his body. He needs surgeries, so on and so forth. So in this timeline, well, Eddie Guerrero will drop the title to Rey Mysterio in the next pay-per-view, in the next SmackDown pay-per-view. And then Rey Mysterio will actually have a short run, and instead of losing the title at Great American Bash, he's gonna lose it at SummerSlam to Booker T, and then, yeah, the timeline goes just like in real life, but the World Heavyweight Championship reigns will actually be moved in a 1 month. And for Booker T's title reign, well, the title run will be shorter for a month because of the adjustment for the World Heavyweight Championship title reigns in this timeline. And so, we're not sure if the people actually support Rey Mysterio that much in this timeline. I'm not sure if he's also over in this timeline. But I know the crowd will support him nonetheless. So Eddie Guerrero actually drops the title to Rey Mysterio, shakes his hand, and then raises his arm, goes to the back, and then before he actually goes to the back, he grabs a mic. He tells everyone that he needs to take a surgery, and he tells it to the fans. And then yeah, Eddie Guerrero will actually have a time off till 2007. He will return at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, and unfortunately for him, well, The Undertaker will win the said Royal Rumble because The Undertaker will challenge Batista at WrestleMania. And as for Eddie Guerrero, well, in this timeline, he will actually be challenging for a mid-card title yet again in WrestleMania because the WWE Championship is stacked, the World Heavyweight Championship is stacked. So they don't have any thing for him and just they put the mid-card title at him at WrestleMania. And at WrestleMania, he wins the United States Championship yet again. And also in this timeline, if you're thinking about Chris Benoit and his tragedy, well, it never happens because Eddie Guerrero and the drug problems and the drug issues are actually, Eddie Guerrero is actually helping Chris Benoit in his drug issues, and WWE is actually strict, and that's why they suspend him for a while, and then they actually have Chris Benoit here have a rehabilitation, which he will actually be off TV so that he will actually be rehabilitated and his family will support him to give back to his mental health. And then yeah, if there's any problems on Chris Benoit, just like in real life, well, they can took action with this. And also Eddie Guerrero being present, Chris Benoit is more open to Eddie, and then his heart will actually be open so that they won't die in that accident, he and his family. So Benoit survives in this timeline because of Eddie Guerrero's involvement and because of his influence, and because Eddie Guerrero is teaching him about the Bible. And also in this timeline, both of them are healthy. No drug addictions, no anything, because WWE actually took care of that. And then I think some of the wrestlers also here, some of them are actually much slimmer than compared in real life because some of them actually took steroids and etc. And then in this timeline, after having this drug policy of the WWE actually taking care of their talents and having a lot of rehabilitation in the process, a lot of wrestlers will actually be suspended. Some of them will actually have a program to avoid any more drug issues. So yeah, this is also a good thing in this timeline that WWE actually took care of that, and a lot of wrestlers didn't die younger. And then Eddie Guerrero will actually have a long run with the United States Championship here. He will also have good feuds with Rey Mysterio, with Chris Benoit, with his friends that actually is on SmackDown. And also when Jericho returns, well, it is actually in the end of 2007. And yeah, they will have also a mini feud with each other, and yeah, reviving their feud in 2008. Also, Eddie Guerrero will drop the United States Championship either on the start of 2008 or in the end of 2007. And as for 2008 and the Royal Rumble, he will actually win that said Rumble. Sorry, Cena, but your win here, and I know he is injured for a while, and the crowd pop actually makes sense for that said Rumble, but we need to give a Royal Rumble win to Eddie Guerrero. So what will he do at WrestleMania? Well, he will challenge Randy Orton for the WWE Championship yet again. The guy who actually he beat for the World Heavyweight Championship in 2005. So it makes sense. I know that Cena versus Triple H versus Orton is awesome, but Eddie Guerrero versus Randy Orton can be also a huge draw because of Eddie Guerrero's fan support, and yeah, because he actually has a good run in the mid card and then he was actually back in the main card to actually have a good feuds. And also in this WrestleMania 24, he puts over Randy Orton in that said match. They trade wins actually. So yeah. After that, Randy Orton will actually continue transitioning from his Legend Killer to his Viper persona. And also in this timeline, at that said WrestleMania, Randy Orton will punt Eddie Guerrero not just once, but twice. And then Eddie Guerrero is out of action. He will actually be out this time because Eddie Guerrero at this time also will have to accept mini TV roles or movies, because I think he wants that also for some time. He actually wants to take other things. I know that it's not the same as The Rock or John Cena thing in movies, but actually Eddie Guerrero experiments on this. That's why he actually asked WWE to actually put over Orton and actually took him out at WrestleMania. And then after that, well, Eddie Guerrero creates a movie from the WWE studios. And then he returns after the movie actually got in the cinemas, and then all after that advertisements and etc. And the WWE actually made that movie on the cinemas instead of straight to DVD, unlike the other movies they had. So Eddie Guerrero actually returns, confronts Randy Orton, which is not, he is not a champion anymore at this time, and he actually gets the W from Randy Orton and avenge his match from WrestleMania. And also in this timeline, Triple H is now the WWE champion, which he is now on SmackDown, and the World Heavyweight Championship is on the Monday Night Raw. Also in this timeline, well, CM Punk is the World Heavyweight Champion who is on Monday Night Raw. And then we will see a 1-on-1 match between these two on WWE television, in which they actually have a good match, and then Eddie Guerrero puts over CM Punk in this case. Also, he has a mini feuds with a lot of wrestlers from here. He will actually have a feud with Chris Benoit, feud with JBL, and then after his feud with JBL, he will notice that the fans actually supports him that much, and then he asks the WWE to turn him heel yet again. And then yeah, Eddie Guerrero will turn heel here, and then he will have a heel World Heavyweight Championship reign. After Chris Jericho and Batista's feud, he will actually be inserted in the feud here, in which in that said match, well, he will actually turn heel, and then he will actually pin Batista to win the World Heavyweight Championship, and then Jericho will actually be shocked that he isn't the champion anymore. They will have heel promos between each other. Batista is actually babyface only in this feud. And yeah, that happens for the rest of 2008. 2009, well, Eddie Guerrero is still the World Heavyweight Champion. He will drop the title at the Royal Rumble in Triple H. They will have a feud here also before 2008 ends. before 2008, Triple H actually was drafted to Raw yet again. He challenged for the World Heavyweight Championship. He wins the title in Royal Rumble 2009, and then he will have this match with Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And then also in this timeline, well, Eddie Guerrero actually has a dream match yet to get at WrestleMania, which is Eddie Guerrero versus Jeff Hardy. And yes, I know that Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy is set for WrestleMania, but in this timeline, Matt Hardy did not turn heel. Instead, a heel Eddie Guerrero will actually fight the babyface Jeff Hardy. And then they will have this back and forth awesome match. And then Eddie Guerrero actually loses to Jeff Hardy because he is over at this point. Fans are screaming, Hardy, Hardy, Hardy. And WWE has no choice but to push him. But they have the plans for the WWE Championship, so the World Heavyweight Championship, well, they will push it for Jeff Hardy. And as for this time, also CM Punk actually cashes in for the World Heavyweight Championship, and the title was drafted to SmackDown. And so the WWE Championship is back on Raw. Because of that occasion, they actually drafted it much late. In this timeline, I know that it is confusing, but they need to draft the title in order to Jeff Hardy actually have a storyline with CM Punk and those storylines. And as for Eddie, well, he will go for the Intercontinental Championship and have a feud again with Rey Mysterio. And also in this timeline, Rey Mysterio versus Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Jericho is the thing for the Intercontinental Championship, which in this timeline, the four people actually trade the Intercontinental Championship between each other, not by month, but they will have the so-called hot potato by other fans, so that they have each turn for the Intercontinental Championship. You have the heel Jericho, you have the heel Eddie Guerrero, and then you have the babyface Rey Mysterio and babyface Chris Benoit. And also in this feud, Eddie Guerrero will turn face because the fans actually like him. He will viciously destroy Chris Jericho in an episode of SmackDown. Also by this point, Eddie Guerrero is drafted to SmackDown, is no longer on Raw. If you're thinking about superstar shakeup just like in 2016 or 2018, or I mean the draft, whatever it is, well, yeah, that happens. So Eddie Guerrero was drafted to SmackDown, and they have this feud with the Intercontinental Championship, in which the four actually becomes the champion, and they feud until the end of the year. And also in this timeline, also let's put Chavo Guerrero as in their feud. Eddie Guerrero will be the last Intercontinental champion after this feud between these four, and then the two Guerreros will feud with each other. Chavo will win the title, and then John Morrison will win the title from him, and that is by 2010. So Eddie Guerrero is the champion from 2009, from late 2009 till 2010, which, yeah. And then, yeah, Eddie Guerrero by this point, he will have also a second movie because he wants another time off because he actually competed for long. So he has his WWE movie, and also Benoit is also involved. And they will return actually on the day Rey Mysterio wins his second World Heavyweight Championship. They will just congratulate him and they will celebrate on the stage. And then, yeah, the three celebrate on the stage, the three baby faces, and then they will be the faces of SmackDown by that point. Also, they will push Kane. That's why Rey Mysterio will lose the title against him. And then this three will actually be on the mid card, where they will actually have these matches on each episode of SmackDown. But Eddie Guerrero will be drafted to Raw, and by this point, he will defeat the WWE champion by that time, so he will have his championship reign because his movie was actually popular with the fans, and the WWE actually was earning so much in that said movie with him and Jericho and Benoit actually performing that movie. Also in this timeline, Chris Jericho is actually involved in the movie gig because Eddie Guerrero actually pursued him too. So the three is actually performing on the movie gig. And also the two recognizes Jericho as a band player in Fozzy. And yeah, they will support Jericho in his gigs, and they will have actually pictures of them going to Jericho's gig. And by this time, 2010, Eddie and Benoit will actually start a part-time schedule because the two believe that they have this huge run with the WWE and they perform that much, and taking a part-time schedule because of their recent time offs actually heals their body and doesn't have the same strain. So they will be also included in the list of those wrestlers who actually took the part-time role in 2010. That means they will appear on a short rivalries or a few months and then they will be gone. And then yeah, Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit took their time off. They actually have a lot of interviews from the televisions. They actually have a lot of gigs also, just like Jericho. The two also supports Jericho, and if they want to perform in the WWE, they will just return. But they actually watch wrestling, so the two is updated that every program that the WWE actually does. And also by this timeline, if you're asking me, how about the Money in the Bank winner in WrestleMania 26? Well, it's not Jack Swagger who won the World Heavyweight Championship that time after cashing it to Chris Jericho. Instead, WWE pulled the trigger on Christian. And then Rey Mysterio will beat a heel Christian, who he actually turned heel, and in this time, WWE actually tells Rey Mysterio that he will take the title for the 28 days, just like in real life, and drop it to Kane. So Rey Mysterio will actually be more happier in the WWE because he has his best friends there. And as the result, well, they will have a few moments with each other. But unfortunately for them, they will leave WWE in 2014. After CM Punk left with a lot of his issues and so on and so forth, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, and Benoit is not actually happy with their roles. Though they have this part-time schedule, but for Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, but they want to compete for other companies yet again. So they try to compete yet again for another indie run with each other. They compete at NJPW. They compete at every company else except for TNA. They don't compete in there. And then yeah, they will actually return to the WWE in a few years later. And then when they return, Jericho actually leaves the WWE. So yeah, they will find out that Jericho leaves WWE, And by that point, the four actually have their contacts with each other. And then so Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit will have a short contract with the WWE. They will have 2 years contract with each, and they will compete on a daily basis. And then but they don't compete in house shows. And then they will learn that AEW actually existed. So I think that one of them actually goes to AEW, and Eddie Guerrero actually continues his contract with the WWE because Rey Mysterio is there, and Benoit wants to try to go to AEW with Chris Jericho. And then Benoit is actually competing in AEW with Chris Jericho. And then by that time, they will have a program with each other for the AEW Championship, which is Benoit versus Jericho, before Jericho actually drops to Moxley just like in real life. So and as for Eddie Guerrero, he will win the Universal Championship after defeating someone from the roster. By this point, well, let's just say that Roman Reigns actually vacates the title, and then WWE actually have a tournament which a lot of wrestlers compete in, and in the finals, Eddie wins the title. And then Eddie Guerrero is the Universal Champion by his age, but he will put over Bray Wyatt after he has an amazing character. Because by that point, Eddie Guerrero will actually have his final title run, that's why it's so long. So by that point also, the Universal Championship will not go back and forth to Brock Lesnar. Instead, Eddie Guerrero will just have it weekly, comes to Raw, and then either he drops it to Rollins in another dream match, or he drops it to Bray Wyatt. But I think the better thing is to drop it to Rollins at WrestleMania 35, and they have this amazing match with each other. But the ending, Eddie Guerrero will actually shake the hand of Seth Rollins. And then Eddie will challenge for the title versus Seth Rollins. He will fail, and then he will have a lot of mini feuds which he will put over Andrade. Just like what Rey Mysterio did. Well, Eddie Guerrero believes in Andrade, that's why he will put over Cien Almas. So after that feud with Almas, well, Eddie Guerrero is actually happy by that point, and then it's 2020, the COVID season, and he will actually be one of the wrestlers who will actually took time off because of the current situation. And then that's it for the what if Latino Heat never passed away and is still alive. Thank you for watching, and this is Mike Rato. And did you enjoy this what if by me? Well, subscribe now for more videos, and I hope you like this video. And did you like also this aftermath where the four friends actually enjoyed their time on pro wrestling? And also, do you like this final moments between these four, where they actually have this final moment in the WWE where they actually have also a huge tag team match versus the heels before they actually took time off in 2014. So that's it for our what if, and thank you for watching, and this is again Mike Rato, and have a good day. Also, if you're asking about that tag team match between these four, well, it's gonna be the four of them versus the four heel superstars by that point. which I think will happen in 2013 or 2014, or probably in 2012, where the four of them actually embraced and they have their moment. And then yeah, that happens to that match before they left the company in 2014 and then returns at years later. And unfortunately for the timeline, it is more just like what I said. Chris Benoit joined AEW, Eddie Guerrero stays on WWE, Jericho is on AEW by this point, Mysterio is still on the WWE, Eddie and Mysterio is now training Dominic, and they actually have them by his side versus his feud with Seth Rollins by now, in which Eddie Guerrero will actually help Dominic cheat at SummerSlam. And also AOP by that time is still on the side of Rollins and they were never injured. So that means at SummerSlam, we have AOP and Murphy by the side of Seth Rollins, and we have KO, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio by the side of Dominic Mysterio. And in the ending of that match, Eddie Guerrero will throw the steel chair after a huge rumble fight outside, and then after that, Dominic hits Seth with the chair and then throws it to Eddie. Eddie hides the chair, he does this frog splash and wins. And that's for Dominic Mysterio's debut at SummerSlam. And that's also the time that Eddie Guerrero actually returned. He will return for Dominic Mysterio's feud versus Seth Rollins because Rey Mysterio actually called him that he needs support. So Eddie Guerrero was absent for the first few months of the year until Mysterio called for his rival with Seth Rollins, which he needs Eddie Guerrero to have an equalizer against the Monday Night Messiah. And by that point, Eddie returns, and he also has these dream matches with Murphy and other talents by the WWE by that point. And also they put over Dominic in that match at SummerSlam, which establishes Dominic Mysterio. And then they all have their celebrations with, actually in that match also they will have this showcase video where Seth Rollins will try to poison Eddie Guerrero's mind or Dominic Mysterio's mind in the SummerSlam match in 2005, which Rey Mysterio will try to have them keep peace with each other, and they have a huge peace with each other and they never feuded. So yeah, that happens at SummerSlam, and then they will have this huge tag team match the next night. And then just like in real life, Rey Mysterio torn his tricep, and then what happened to his tricep, yeah. And then as for now, Eddie Guerrero is the one actually managing Dominic Mysterio at his feuds and on Monday Night Raw. Thank you for watching. I know that I extended this thing for a longest what if that I ever made, because this started at 2005 and ended at 2020, and some of you will be confused by the timelines. Well, yeah, but I explain it in the final moments in our what if, where Eddie returns and then they have this feud versus Seth Rollins and then all of that, and then they will put over Dominic huge time at SummerSlam. So that's it for our what if. This is my final actually outro, no more extensions, and watch my what if series on this channel. Watch my Titantron, my wrestling theme songs that I made, actually from WWE theme songs that Titantrons that I actually made. And also subscribe now and like this video. Comment down below for more what ifs. So yeah, thank you for watching.